Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soul-u-tions Podcast. My name is Tara Simkins, and I am your hostess. Today, we're going to be talking about time scarcity. And I've got the cure for time scarcity if you are ailed by never having enough time to get all of the things that you want to do done in your life. And especially if you never have the time to put you in your life, then this episode is one that you're going to want to listen to. So I'll meet you on the other side of the intro. Enjoy the music.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So, whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Okay, time. Something we all want more of in different seasons of our lives. I remember when I first was thinking about this idea of time scarcity. And really it came during there was a season of my life as a lawyer, young partner in a firm in my mid to late 30s, 3 small children, and a marriage, practicing law, and trying to fit fun in and some philanthropic community work and leadership work. And it just seemed like I never had enough time. And I loved being busy. I loved feeling accomplished and doing all the things. I relished every single role that I had in my life at that time. And I was plagued by this thought, if only I had an extra hour in the day, I could really get some big stuff done in my life and in the world, and that everything would just be magically okay if there was one more hour in the day. And then I had this crazy epiphany. I'll never forget where I was when it hit me. I think it must have been late spring time of year, because I can remember how the light hits as it's going down. It's a long day, and the light is just I don't know, feels warm and nice, and like there's a lot of evening left ahead of you. And I was approaching my back door, loaded with both my homework that I was bringing back from my firm for the night, as well as groceries in another arm. And I'm trying to open the door and balance everything. And the door swings open, and these 3 kids come and just jump on me all at the same time. And I can just remember looking up in that moment before I opened the door, and I did have that thought again. If only I had another hour in the day, I could really get some stuff done. And in that exact moment was this epiphany. It was a voice from deep inside me, from outside of me, just from all around me. And the voice was just, I don't know, it was just this all-knowing, compassionate, loving, wise voice that said, but 24 hours is the perfect amount of time. It's the perfect amount of time to do everything that you need to get done. And it's the same amount of time that everyone else has. And in that moment, something shifted for me. I guess I would call it a sliding doors moment. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. If you haven't, you have to watch it. It's an old Gwyneth Paltrow movie, and it's a moment where she's racing to get on the train or the tube in London, and the doors on the train are shutting right as she's able to jump in and just kind of put her arm in and stop the doors from shutting and get on the train. And her life goes off in this particular direction because she made the train. And then there's this alternative reality where she gets there and the doors close on her. She doesn't make that extra jump or whatever she needed to do to stop the doors from opening. And the doors close in that moment. And she watches the train just move off, and her life stays for a moment on that platform. And then that's when the alternate reality goes into a different progression of her future. This moment for me about time and the realization that we all get the same amount of time, and we all get to think about the amount of time that we all have in whatever way that we want to. We can think about it in a way that makes us feel scarce, that we believe that, we need more of it, or that there's just not enough of it for us in this moment in our lives. And when we do that, that's that sliding doors moment that the train goes off just in the direction of a future where you're constantly battling with wanting more and more time and this feeling of scarcity in your life. Or you can choose to think about time in a different way. And you don't have to think about time like, oh, I have oodles and oodles and oodles of time. We don't have to go from wishing you wanted an extra hour of time in your life to, feeling like you had so much time that you could give an hour away in your life. We don't want to swing from, one feeling of scarcity to some other like overly positive type of way of viewing time. But the cure for time scarcity is found somewhere in the middle. The cure for this feeling of not having enough time is in this moment of accepting the amount of time that you have as enough. So I would call this moving from a sense of time scarcity to a sense of time sufficiency. Like the amount of time that I have is enough, and it's enough time to do all the things in life that I was born to do. Now, I want you to take a moment with me to pause here because, there's that all the things that need to get done are all the things that I can do or I could be doing, or all the things that I was born to do. Those are three very different ways of looking at what you are capable of doing, what you can do, but of narrowing that focus down a little bit more into, but what you alone can do in this world. And so the beautiful thing about having a certain amount of time in your day, having a day that's organized around 24 hours and a week that's organized around 7 24-hour days, is that we all have the same amount of time. And so there's a sense of we're all in this together. Nobody has more of it in that kind of a perspective I mean, we do have some lives are shorter than others and lives are longer than others. But when you just get down to the amount of hours we have in a day, it's the same for everyone. And this is that invitation for us to begin to settle into, well, what if that amount of time is enough? Because someone else constructed the idea of a day by observing, the rotation around the sun, by observing something else in the physical world, something beyond how men and women would organize the working in a factory or any of those things. It was something bigger than us, something observed in nature. And so from that standpoint, when you settle into it and you're say, okay, I might have to make some choices here. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who is doing everything or working on everything, or perhaps you were like me back in that time, that you just loved the feeling of productivity and accomplishment. So you simply wanted more hours in the day so that you could feel that feeling more. But I want to challenge you to feel that feeling, and in the sense of being sufficient in the time that you're given, and by beginning to arrange your life in a way that agrees with the amount of time that you have versus living your life, again, back to that sliding doors moment, in a way that is constantly fighting against the time that you have. So, this is the place that I want to invite you to begin today. As you're considering where you are you someone who thinks that, gosh, I wish I had more time? And you're trying to move to a place of sufficiency. This is the place I want you to begin. And I think it's just a place we constantly overlook. So this is what I meant in the introduction by, I bet the cure to time that I'm going to offer you for the cure of time scarcity, I bet it's not what you think it's going to be. So this is the place we're going to start. I want you to start by taking out a pen and a piece of paper, or your journal if you have it. Or some of my clients love to use their notes section in their phone. So just take something out. And I want you to start with what is working for you in your life in the way that time is organized. So what about the 24-hour day is working for you on a daily basis? Another way to phrase the question is, how do you feel supported by the 24-hour day? Now, your knee-jerk response might be, but I'm not. That's the whole problem. I don't feel like I have enough time in the day. And I want you to know, I hear you. And we are going to get to the point, to the place of what isn't working. But we're going to put that on the back burner, and we're going to start with what is working. So let me give you a few examples of places to start. Like, I was just brainstorming just a minute ago while we were setting everything up in here in the studio for the podcast. Like, one way it works for me is that I eventually have to stop. There comes a point in the day where I just have to stop working. I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need to exercise, and eventually just kind of wear out and just plop down on the bed to go to sleep. Like, the day is organized in a way that I eventually just have to stop. And for someone like me, and you may be this way too, I just will work and grind and keep pushing myself until I am absolutely empty and the rate of return on the effort that I'm putting into it is just not even worth it. But I'm like one of those work dogs or work horses that just can't help themselves. They'll just keep leaning into the work until they can't do it anymore. So in that sense, I'm like, the number one thing about the 24-hour day is that eventually I have to stop. I just have to. The second thing that the 24-hour day makes me do is it really makes me prioritize things in my life that otherwise I wouldn't have to prioritize. If I had an extra hour in the day, I wouldn't be forced to make some choices and decisions in the same manner that having 24 hours in the day that I have to. Let's say I have to, let's just assume you need to get 8 hours of sleep. Because I'm betting you're not getting 8 hours of sleep if you want more time. You're probably creeping into that sleep time. But let's just say this, like in a 24-hour day, if 8 hours is devoted to sleep, then you have 16 hours left to do some work, have some fun, and do the maintenance activities of your life. So then say, 8 hours is to working, but then you have a commute time. You just have to sit there and do a time audit of your day and say, all right, if I want to have some strong relationships and friendships in my life, I'm going to have to figure out a way to fit that in. Or if I want to be healthy and exercise so that for the rest of my life, I can live a long and healthy life, I'm going to have to figure out a way how to put that into my day. Or here's another one. I think it goes back to something I touched on earlier in the podcast. Just because I can do something doesn't mean that I'm the person who needs to be doing that thing. And I want you to think about this for yourself. I mean, how many things do you do that truly only you can do? And how many things do you do that other people could be doing for you? We were, we were talking about this in my Soul-u-tions Labs class today because my word of the year is scale. I'm interested in scaling my business. How do I help more people? How do I reach more people and do more things? And one of my members says, all the great business coaches talk about when you want to scale something, you have to begin to delegate responsibility for things. So the 24-hour day really does invite us and require us to start thinking about the things that I can delegate for other people to do so that then I can sit back and do the things that truly only I can do. And this gets back to that idea of, the 24-hour day is perfect for me to do the things that I was born to do. And it makes me kind of just take an inventory into where my talents are. Could I be recording this podcast on my own and uploading it and doing all the things? Yes, but I'm at the Get Up Production studio here because that's something that other people know how to do better than I do. They can do it more efficiently. They do it at scale. The quality is really high. And so actually realizing that I can do that, but that is not the best use of my time. And it's the best use for them. It also honors what they do better than what I do better. It begins to this prioritization and this taken inventory of the things that only you can do kind of help you lean into a life of service in a way. And it also, I think, allows us to live a in a way in a society where we do all come together and work together, where the whole it's like a rising tide situation, right? Where the whole is stronger than the sum of its parts. So that was the kind of number two thing that I thought about, what was working about time and having 24 hours, how that works for me, right? The first one is I eventually have to stop. But the second one is I really have to prioritize and take inventory of what my unique skills are, and discern the difference between what I can do and what I'm uniquely, you know, born to do or skilled to do. Then the third thing, as I've touched on this before, is that everyone has the same amount of hours in the day that they're working with. The raw material that we all have is the same. And so that, to me, there's some intrinsic sense of fairness that comes into play there, and that I can really settle into this idea of accepting the amount of time that I have to work with, because we all have the same amount of time. Now, I want to challenge you to come up with 3 additional ideas on your own. Just take a moment to take a deep breath. And I love, taking 3 deep breaths here. This is just in through your nose, and out through your mouth. And let that exhale be longer than your inhale. Take another inhale through your nose as deep as it can go. Exhale like with like a little straw through your lips. All the air out. And one more. Inhale. And exhale. All right, from this place, just first thing that comes to your mind of how you are supported in your life through the 24 hours that you have in today. Write down the first thing that comes to your head, and then write down some second thing, and then write down a third thing. And now just check back in with yourself and see, where are you in this original thought that I don't have enough time, if only I had another hour in the day. And this feeling that you have right now of acceptance or sufficiency, so that maybe that, if nothing else, they have the same weight now, right? This feeling of scarcity is not stronger than this feeling of sufficiency. Maybe it's just like, oh, yeah, 2 things can be true. I do wish I had an extra hour. And yet I know that 24 hours is all that any of us have, and it's enough. Now, from this place, we can move into, given that we only have 24 hours, and until someone grants my wish of an extra hour in the day, from this place of acceptance, how is my relationship with time? How is living in a sense of time scarcity not serving me? How is it not working for me to believe that I don't have enough time to get done all the things that I want to get done in life? Now, I could just brainstorm this with you as well right here. This isn't prepared, so it's totally off the top of my head. And the first thing that pops into my mind is that I just feel a little more sense of a crunch in my day when I'm thinking that way, right? I'm like, ugh. Like I go through my day with this graspy feeling or this crunchy feeling or like this feeling of I need to rush and I can't take time for 3 deep breaths, which we just did, and think about how nice it felt to regroup and reorganize with those three deep breaths and ground yourself in just this sense of, yeah, it's okay. The amount of time that I have is okay. So that would be the first thing I would put down on what doesn't work, how that thought doesn't serve me, that I don't have enough time to get done all the things done, because it has me racing from here to there and not taking a moment to even have 3 deep breaths and just to enjoy the settledness of that. I bet you could find another thing for yourself on how that thought isn't working for you. This just popped into my mind. It makes me feel like I'm not in control of my life. It makes me feel like I'm at the effect of, of time. some master clockmaker that's just going to say time's out, and that I don't have any control over things. And so, yeah, that's something else that I don't really like the way that feels. And that I also notice that when I don't feel in control over how I want to spend my time or how I get to spend my time, then I'm not as discerning. I tend to, like what we discussed before, I tend to probably do things that I don't take the time to prioritize, right? I don't take the time to prioritize what truly is mine to contribute to the world. What is it that I was born to do? What is it that I'm uniquely qualified to do? And what are the things that someone else could do better than me and that should be doing for me? So I think that is when I'm feeling rushed and I mean, gosh, think about this. When does this happen to you in your day? Like, I don't have time to sit here. I've just got to jump straight into my day. Right? You'll sit down at your desk and I'm like, I just got to jump straight into my day. I don't have time to prioritize the things. I just have to go from one thing to the next, from one thing to the next. And so I'm never taking inventory. And, that feeling that I told you that I love to feel, that feeling of being accomplished, I am stealing from myself the opportunity to feel accomplished in the things that I am doing, because I'm just rushing from here to there, jumping from here to there, just crossing things off my list. And I'm missing out on the opportunity to savor and celebrate the things that I do, and taking the time to discern like the priorities. Okay. So now I want to move you to the next thing. Okay. So given that you started out thinking that you don't have enough time to get all the things done that you wanted to get done in your life, and we've moved to this place of acceptance, and that two things are true, that while I wish I had an extra hour in the day, I don't. I have the same 24 hours as other people. What is one thing that you might start to do differently in order to feel the sufficiency of the time that you have, right? In order to feel at peace, in order to stop fighting against the 24 hours that you were given, right? To stop looking for more time and instead to start looking at how you want to use the time that you have more. And an interesting thing comes with this is that at the end of the day, that leaves you with a skill set that you didn't have, that you started the day with, or that you started with when you started listening to this podcast. It leaves you with a new skill set, which is the ability to think about how you want to use the time that you are given, versus constantly looking for an extra hour. It focuses your brain someplace else. I always love to think about your brain as one of these scanning machines. When my kids were playing Call of Duty or some game on the computer, and it's like when those machines are scanning for trying to hone in on a target, or Top Gun. I think we just watched that new Maverick movie. They're flying and one of the planes is trying to lock in on the target on the other plane. Our brains really work in the same way. So if you're spending all your day saying, gosh, I wish I have an extra hour, you're just hoping and wishing and for an extra hour that never comes, your brain is just going to be constantly exhausting itself, wishing, hoping, looking for an extra hour. And your brain is not going to be solving for the problem of, I have 24 hours in the day, and how do I want to use those hours? Right? This is the Soul-u-tions Podcast here. We want to get our brain solving for problems at the higher level. So that means realizing when our brain are solving for problems in a way that we can't find a solution, that there's no solution for. So the skill set of using your brain to find a workable solution is a skill set that you can use in every aspect of your life. Today, in this podcast, with this topic, we used it to solve or to cure the time scarcity issue. But the same process you can use to work through any issue. And if you want to get a little more practice on this process, I just call it an evaluation process. It's just a 3-step evaluation process where you take the thing and you start to look at the issue with what's working, right? You take the 24-hour day. How is that working for me? How is that supporting me? And you get really grounded in how it is supporting you and working for you. And then you move into, okay, what's not working in my relationship to the 24-hour day, right? What's not working in my relationship and how I'm relating, or how I'm working through these things, or how I'm showing up in my parenting, in my marriage, in my relationship to money, in my relationship to what I'm called to do and want to do in the world, right? What's not working. And then we move very specifically for the 3rd step into what is it that I want to do differently. And if you go to my website, tarasimkins.com, TaraSimkins, I have a free masterclass for you that will walk you through this 3-step process, this 3-step evaluation process. There are some fun videos for you there. I've actually just re-recorded the videos, so I'm looking forward to uploading them. So if you get on and all you have to do is give me your email address and get on my mailing list, and then you'll get the free masterclass. But if you get the free masterclass now, if you go ahead and get on the mailing list, then you'll get to see the original videos and you'll get to see the new updated videos. You'll be on the first to know list for that. But I use this tool every week in the Soul-Shine Lab with my membership. Every Friday we devote to using this tool. It works in every aspect of our lives. And I really do think it is the key to living a life that you love, because it forces us to start with what is it that's working in our lives before we look at what's not working. And then, you have to kind of decide to do something differently, just to take a risk and learn something new. So make sure that you go to my website, tarasimkins.com, and sign up for my free class, my free master class, by giving me your email, and then we'll be able to stay connected, and you'll be on the first to know list about all the next podcast that drops too, and what I'm thinking and going on behind those. So my hope for you today at the end of this podcast is that you are feeling a little more at peace and a little more sufficient with the time that you do have in a 24-hour day, that you're feeling supported by it, that you also feel empowered to begin to take some time for yourself. And whether it's taking 3 deep breaths on a daily basis, or whether it's just deciding to prioritize you and a few other things in your life, that in and of itself is a game changer. So thank you, as always, for being here and for subscribing and listening to the Soul-u-tions Podcast. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the music again.
'Cause I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight, and your courage is all you